computer. We're going to put it on the cloud. Okay. So can you just replay all that, Kendra? No, I'm just joking.
Well,
Okay.
Mary and Pat came off mute, so they're going to say it better than I could.
Okay.
Anyway, I still
Mary's
have
on the edge of her chair,
I
so go
still
ahead.
have the necklace, Mary, from our three amigos tenure. So there you go.
Oh,
I just remember whenever
there.
we worked through this and did this, we had intentions and we did it of presenting. We had people that would go out to the LOs, and we did it at state conferences and get-togethers and whatever to teach LinkedIn. And you have to remember, this was technology has evolved a lot even since we did this. And so, we were teaching LinkedIn. We were teaching the apps to plan your day, some of the calendar apps and some of the to-do apps, and so we Kendra knew a lot of people that knew how to do that, and we utilized those and use those as resources to do presentations to the members. So that was a lot of the technology that we were trying to bring them, because whenever we came into this, there was a lot of paper in this organization, and I wound up with most of that paper in my possession. And had to go through it and scan and shred and all that stuff. And so we were just trying to bring the organization as a whole, and even some of the members, into the age of technology. And you look at it now and go, well, everybody's got a cell phone and everybody can do this. Yeah, but they weren't doing it then.
So how do we transition into what they are doing now and what we can do well? Because we're not touring, we're not doing that anymore.
Right. And it has changed. You're right.
Well, but I think you could. I think you could. Well, you could deliver virtually, you could deliver little mini courses. I mean, we could use technology to reach people. And B, what we also used to do is kind of, what did the one in San Antonio, we called it like a meeting in a box. And so you just needed a facilitator in your area, and we provided a lot of the other the expertise,
Videos,
if you would. And so as long
and agenda and that kind of thing.
and you just had to have a facilitator in your space. So I wouldn't necessarily accept that as a constraint necessarily. I think that is still very doable. I think technology makes it even easier. That was before Zoom was. I mean, we talked about having virtual meetings. My God, if we could find the minutes, Karen, you would just roll on the floor laughing. I mean, Doris is laughing. Like, if you could find the minutes from what, 2012, Doris, 2011, 2012, when we first proposed virtual membership, I mean, it was like you were doing a deal with the devil. I mean, for real, like it's unheard of, and then COVID happens and oh my gosh, now it's all, but what those legacy members would allow 10 or 12 years ago is very different than what I think we can do now. And so I do think you could deliver on those things.
I think those are great ideas.
The board voting electronically, to get that into the I don't know if it's in the policies and procedures of the bylaws, but just to get that sentence in there that the board can vote electronically it was a fight.
Well, so y'all are our Inez Milholland. So she paved the way, y'all have paved the way. Now, what I see is we're paving the way for the women that are coming in 30 and 50 years. How do we set them up for success? What do we change and do now in our language, in our intention, in our actions, so that we capitalize and maximize our efficiency as a legacy, as a box of knowledge that we can share with others? Because we have all of this, but like we were talking about earlier, we have women like Gwen who have all of these stories and they're in their head. How do we get things that we have out to the women that need them? So
Okay.
that's what,
Part two, there was a podcast and we should find
Mhm.
it because I think there's a ton of recordings, audio
That's,
recordings.
I keep thinking about that. Sherry actually did that whenever we met here in Plano. We had a room and those, you know, the women were in there and we had a professional interviewer that actually
But when
interviewed
Lisa, remember
in
Lisa
front of a
Good
camera.
Game? That, I think it
Mhm.
was Lisa Good Game, what was that her name? That did
Yep.
the,
so
Yeah.
Desiree
It's a
shared that
good
she
thing.
has the podcast content. We haven't lost it.
That's good, because there were a lot of us that had
It's
a
on
chance.
Libsyn, right, Des? We're still paying for it. We're just
Yes, we
not
are.
connected.
Well, I have a reflection. So I recall during my year, or it could have been the year prior. I don't know. They all blend together when you serve, but
Mhm.
I think it's really important to understand that even 20 years ago, it was easy to put our membership into certain categories. So I put them in the categories of early career, mid-career, senior career / mentor. It is not that way now, especially with as many people who are entrepreneurial. You can find someone who's early career who's better organized, has a solid business case, and extremely savvy in their early career. So they don't need the same thing. Entrepreneurs or people who are really solid in a career, they don't have to wait till they've worked 20 years to get there. So the diverse needs within the different, I call them the three groups, is I think that's a differentiator for other groups. I mean, Kim, you made reference in Houston. In Houston, and I just have to share, you know, diversity is extremely important to me. That's something we've always struggled with in TBW. And my friends who are African American say, "Why are you a member of that white female group?" And I say, it's not about being a white female group, it's about the people who are advocating, and we recruit our friends, we recruit our circles. And so unfortunately, most of the people within TBW are not diverse. But people just go where they feel like they have something in common with, but it's really not limited. It's really not about culture and race. It's really about what are you doing that where I can learn from them. So, I mean, in Houston, there are some super big, powerful women's groups, and they're not just the executives. They just draw from things that they have in common, you know. But I think for us, we're still small. You know, as Kendra mentioned, when you're smaller, you can be nimble and move. It's hard not to name who our sweet spot is with. But if we continue to look at who continues to come, to me, they are early to mid-career women, entrepreneurs, or they're just solid in their careers and they're just trying to learn. And those needs are different than those of us who are on the sunny side, or the downhill slide of our career, even though I feel like I'm a brand new career person every time I change jobs, and I'm always looking for ways to improve my skill set. So I think while we don't want to exclude people, everything that you have in your mission and the other things sound great, but we could change TBW and put many organizations and they would sound exactly the same. So what makes us unique from the other, like, ultra professional groups that just focus on profession, or they align by culture, or they align by your sorority group, you know, or if you're, you know, a college professional. I mean, what's unique about us? We provide a safe place to learn and become your best self, personally and professionally. To me, that's why I'm still a member of TBW, because I've met you ladies and other women that I would have never met in my normal social circle. And That is a key to being successful in life. You can't stay in your social circle and expect to grow. It just, because the world is bigger than your backyard. So I said a whole lot of stuff. I don't know, kind of ranting and raving a little bit, but we don't have to meet everybody's needs. We just have to meet the needs that we choose to meet well.
Mhm.
That's kind of,
Well, and we can't meet everybody's needs. That's the truth of it.
yeah.
But I think
I
what you
think that
said
we,
was so relevant. Thank you, Pat.
I mean, there is like cross-cultural and cross-generational collaboration. I mean, some of us that are older learn all kinds of things from the ones that are younger, and, and we share our expertise. It's a two-way street.
Hmm.
And I think that like that cross-generational thing, I mean, I hadn't thought of it before now, but I think that that's a differentiator. I don't know how we articulate it into a mission statement, but I think that nobody else does that. That's definitely. And the fact that, I mean, the group is super, I mean, we're all in other groups that are supportive of each other, but I think this group in particular is very supportive of each other. And that's worth noting too.
Mm. Julie, you've got your hand raised. What did you have to share, ma'am?
So I'm new here,
And thank you,
new
Kim.
to the
Sorry, I didn't mean to-
organization. So I'm having kind of a hard time following, following this because I'm not in the know. But from somebody from the outside, coming in new to this organization, I'd like to know, are we an educational organization? Are we a networking organization? Coming from the conference standpoint, what do we want when, what are the takeaways? What do we want women to feel when they leave the conference? We definitely want them to feel educated, empowered, connected, strong. We want to be in a source of encouragement. But what I'm hearing a lot about education. I'm hearing a lot about education, LinkedIn, spreadsheets, those kinds of things. Do we have classes? Do we have online classes? Like, is this what our chapter meetings are? Is education? Do we learn technology? Do we learn the latest branding? Do we learn, is that what we do? I've never been to a chapter meeting. So I'm literally asking the question, are we an education organization?
Yeah. So, Julie, I really appreciate your question. And I'll chime in as like the newest of the newest older person. I've been in TBW. I've been aware of TBW for a long time, but been significantly involved in the last few years. And one of the things that I think is just a pillar of what you said is you asked, what is it that we're trying to accomplish? And the reason that you're having to ask that is because we are trying to do so much for everyone that we're effectively not doing anything. And that's the thing. So, in my mind, there are other networking organizations, but we bring a different perspective to it. And so, if I had to pick just one, I would say we need to be a networking organization because we can partner and do things with other education providers. So instead of us trying to reinvent the wheel, let's just bring people together and educate them through the sense of connecting them to those resources through our networking and relationship building. That's just my perspective. But I think that was a very great question that you asked, Julie, and I'm excited to hear how everyone else feels about that as well.
Okay,
I would
Kendra's
totally-
off mute, and Pat's off mute, and Kim's off mute. Now we're going, girls. Now we're going. Okay, Kim.
I totally agree with Desiree. Like, we almost can't compete in that field because there's so much good stuff out there. So let's support other people that are doing that and bring people together and share best practices.
I would challenge that to say we could be a networking organization that provides some educational components, that provides some
Oh, yeah.
other things, right? So it's not that we can't provide it. Maybe it isn't our focus. So
Right.
Kendra,
Well,
you're off mute. What's your thoughts? Were you not
I'm just
about to
listening.
comment?
I
Okay.
would say I remember when I was the new person in the room, sharing my thoughts and getting smacked down. So that's the last thing I want to do. If that's the path that folks are excited about and willing to work towards, and that's what's bringing people to meetings, then go for it.
Can I offer a different perspective? So I would say we have timeless content that we just needed people to come and hear. We have content that is consistent. Julie, you talked about soft skills. So I'm an HR trainer for 30 years. Our individual development that existed before I joined TBW is core. And I do training in organizations now. It's stuff that's in ID. We have timeless, excellent, relevant content. We have people who can facilitate that content. What we didn't, there was a time when everybody went through individual development, and now leadership TBW, because it was a core part of how to be successful. But we ran through everyone, and our
Yeah, there you go.
which one is that?
Hey.
Is that leadership?
No,
Hold
young
that up.
careerists. Young careerists.
Oh,
Young
young careerists. Okay, I was
Yes.
too old to be a young careerist, so I had to
There
do
you go.
individual development, which is just a series. Knowing your style and disc. We have excellent content. So I can appreciate, Desiree, what you're saying. We should partner with organizations who provide training. And our membership is so small. We need a safe place for people to say, I don't know how to ask for a raise. We need a safe place for people to do that kind of, or you're not comfortable to ask the questions that are silly, people think you should know. So I think there's a balance. And the learning was excellent. It was worth my time to travel because I heard something different that I could take into my life. I don't want to just network. I'm older and I don't want to just go and hang out and drink wine. I want to learn, and I want to enhance my life if I'm going to use my discretionary time to get together with ladies.
So
So
something that just
my perspective.
came to mind, Pat, that I think you shared that I maybe wasn't fully aware of. And maybe it's because there was such a tight group for so long. Since I've joined,
Mhm.
I've never heard the word individual development. I didn't know we had an ID program.
Oh, I'm clutching my pearls. But
So
that's because we quit offering it because people weren't coming. So that's valid.
So in the
there's
past,
As
there's been a
passes, like-
huge,
Mhm.
oh, go ahead.
No, you were saying it, Julie, go for it.
In the past, there's been a huge emphasis on education and promoting the individual as a professional via entrepreneur, via new to your career, being mid-management, wanting to go to the next level. It's been an educational / networking event because you are networking because you're meeting people. But it is a professional growth organization. Is that what this is? It's a professional growth? Nope.
No, absolutely. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, that's why we got together, to meet with people who did jobs that to help us, because we didn't feel comfortable asking for that type of help, or didn't feel we had that kind of support or mentorship in our own organizations.
Right. I
you
like
need to be,
professional growth.
yeah, thankful that you had that great job. Now figure it out,
Yeah.
So we
Yes.
could
So
come together.
So
in our
we
safe
provide
place.
scaffolding for people to get through life. It's a
Mhm.
scaffold for you. I use that term a lot with my young professionals. We're going to provide for you the scaffolding that you need to get from college to your career so that you know what to do. I pulled up your YouTube channel, our YouTube channel, because I'm a member. I'm just a new member. There are 10 videos.
Well, there's
So
probably
there was-
there's probably evolutions. So I mean, I think part of it is the infrastructure haven't survived.
Yeah.
I
Haven't
think we have
survived
2
the-
YouTube channels though. I
Yeah,
think we have
there's-
an old one that we
there's-
don't have access to anymore. And then there's the new one that I've started posting our TBW Tuesdays to.
Okay.
So
So I'm
part
not
of
sure
it
which
could
one you
be just
saw.
putting and maybe I would recommend that at some point we try to have like because I think Mary probably has some things and I probably have some things. If we ever had 3 or 4 hours to just do a tech troubleshooting and gatherings session, you know, I think that would be worthwhile because there's probably quite a bit of assets that just haven't made the evolution.
I think that's a very
Yeah.
apparent today.
So our purpose is to grow this organization. I would also like to ask too, I think this would be important, that we need to also be active legislatively. We need to have our finger on the pulse of legislation that's coming out for businesses and anything that is assisting women, entrepreneurs and professional women in growth. I mean, not that we have to be a lobby organization, but that's how we started, right? We were paving the way back in the 1900s and making sure that women were taken care of. I feel like that would also be something important that we should also keep our finger on the pulse, just as a pillar. Because I'm looking at education, networking, education, professional growth, networking. I think legislation should also be a pillar. My personal opinion.
The legislation has become so personal. And I remember when we separated from that, because what we found is that, well, we found a lot of things. We used to be unified around just one thought process when it came to legislation. And now we realize, and it's in a good way, that we attract people who think on both sides of
Right.
the fence. So
I'm
we
thinking
said,
business wise though. I'm not talking politics. I'm just thinking
Oh.
business wise, like what's happening with taxes? Where are the grants? Where are the
sure.
things that are coming down business wise? Because I know this can be a very delicate dance when you start talking political.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about
so
equal pay, everybody would agree on.
yeah, you know, or like,
most. It
Well,
depends. Yeah, it
and
depends.
so I would say that's one of the areas we've gotten bogged down when you know, the more ands you add, the more opportunities there are for
Becomes
for
divisive, unfortunately.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, well-meaning, but I mean, even business, I was surprised, but you know, I'm more conservative when it comes to business because I'm an HR person, as opposed to when you're an employee, you want different things. So, you know, it that was just one comment there. But there's so much there with the personal and professional growth. You know, if we can continue to execute there, we would be meeting there are enough unmet needs that we do have the expertise to deliver there and deliver very successfully.
so educational, personal development, professional growth, and networking. So what is that mission statement then?
Let me pull that back up. Well, we have the current one,
Which is, but the whole purpose is to come up with a new one, right? To update it, is that right?
So TBW's mission is to enhance women's personal and professional skills through technology, networking, and advocacy. And then the vision is to equip women and empower women with the tools to succeed in a competitive and evolving environment. And then this was what we have pulled together from the last 2 meetings. So after this discussion, thank you for kind of coming back around. Julie, what are your thoughts now as a collective? Kendra, thank you for being here. I know you've got to jump.
Yeah, sorry.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Good to
You
see you
always-
and definitely appreciate you sharing all your thoughts and wisdom.
For sure. All right. See you later.
Right.
You know, one of the things that I see here in San Antonio, TBW is not NABO, a SABO, a HABO. I mean, we've got all of these acronyms for a level of women's organizations where I think we've said it several times, unless you're at a certain level of accomplishment or your perceived accomplishment, then you don't even consider joining that group. Or if you join, then you are not a member for very long because you very quickly understand that you're not at that same level. And I'm using that as an example. The one thing that TBW does is that we take women where they are and elevate them. We're not saying you have to know what a spreadsheet is. You have to know what how to use QuickBooks. You or any of those type of technology skills. And it's not just technology. It's being able to it's being able to write a speech or to establish your own business mission statement and vision. I think that's the difference from what we are. We have that mentoring capability and we actually use it. I look at some of these other organizations and I'm not, downgrading them by any means, but I don't see that same level of support, of acceptance, of understanding or wanting to understand someone who's coming in or who has an interest in the organization. The other organizations, you come to 2 meetings or even 1 meeting, one particular one here in San Antonio, 1 meeting, and that's your dip your toe into the to the culture. And the second time you're there, you better be writing a check or have paid your dues online, and you fall in lockstep with everybody else. That's not my experience of TBW in a larger city. And that's where I think the education is not necessarily always a formalized participation, but I think no matter what level you come in as or wherever you're participating, whether it's virtually like a TBW Tuesday that we started during COVID, or it's going to a state conference, or Julie, I hope that you get to experience a local organization meeting, because that's the other thing. There is a difference. Many of, or most of us, I think now are definitely customizing our meetings and our presentations and our speakers, or even how we're meeting based on the needs of the people that are in the organization and those that have shown an interest to be in the organization. TBW San Antonio still does virtual meetings. We did that this during the January timeframe, and it was a health type situation where everyone was saying, there's a lot of COVID coming around again. But I think that's the flexibility that I see in our organization as opposed to a lot of these other women's organizations. And that's what keeps people coming back, in my opinion. And so that's my 3.5 cents, Miss Karen.
That was a whole dollar's worth. No, thank you for sharing. I think it is very different because San Angelo's organization offers different, their LO offers something different than San Antonio's. So in Dallas, we had a chapter in 2 chapters actually in the area, and just with changes, some things they've kind of disbanded and they're not active. My goal is to get a Dallas chapter back and have an LO here and that is what I hope comes from conference is we have that desire. We have, I don't know, 4 or 5 women now that are 1, 2, 4. Amy, myself, Julie, and Mary Mackey. So we've almost got our board already. So, right, Mary?
Sure.
So, but it is very personalized to meet the needs of the women in the group. So I love what everybody's saying. There's so much here, but where do we go? Because we could discuss this over and over and over. Does this still speak to who we are and what we want to do with everything that we've discussed tonight? What is the consensus?
Can I just say one thing? I think
1000%.
if you wanted to change the mission and the vision, I personally would not be opposed to it. I think it all sounds great. The magic is in the delivery. We can pretty much say whatever we want. It's where are we going to put our energy and how are we going to deliver it? So, I mean, if you were to put it up for a vote, I'd say, sure, do it. How are we going to execute it? Let's
Yes.
get behind whatever that plan is and build some momentum. And I think you're
Yeah.
building momentum. So thank you just for giving us the opportunity to weigh in.
Thank you guys for weighing in and for sharing, because there's a lot of things that I feel like we could do. And we get really excited on a call, on a meeting. We could do this, we could train here, we could do this. And then when it comes time to do it, we all have very busy lives and
Right.
there's not the woman power, the she power behind it to show up and do the sessions. So it would take a commitment to make those changes because we have to be able to follow through. And that's what I feel like is not setting well with me, is that we say that we're doing this through technology, networking. Yes, we do that. Advocacy, somewhat. But I feel like we're saying we're a technology driven or missioned organization, and we're not doing that anymore.
So, and I'm, the one in red is what we have right now, and the one in black down below is what we're proposed to do.
That's just what the board pulled together from the things that have been shared with us to this
Okay.
point. So it's a place to start. It's not
Could we-
necessarily the proposed one.
Right. Could it be something as simple as going back to the red, the one in red, just changing a few words to make it more updated, to say something about the TBW's mission is to use the word elevate, because I heard that a while ago. Elevate Texas women's, scroll back down. Texas women's personal and professional growth through education, networking, and community.
Through education.
Networking and community. I mean, and that's just kind of a simple way just to kind of maybe update it with some words that we've talked about and look at what, you know, when you ask the question, when I ask the question, what are we? What kind of organization are we? We are an organization of education. We are a networking organization and community, and we do want to elevate personal growth. And then the vision could maybe then hone in on navigating careers, leadership skills, and so forth. I mean, that's just me. If I want to simplify, if I want to cut through, peel back the layers and say, let's just simplify it. What does that look like for you? And it's fine if you say, I hate it. It's fine.
Julie, I'm a new-ish member, but I think that that totally makes sense. But I would defer to some of the old guard to make sure
Yeah.
we're not losing the
But
legacy,
that's
you
what
know.
I'm saying. Yeah, I'm just coming in with just not knowing, like just not knowing. I'm not in the weeds, and I'm just trying to stay high level.
Mhm. Yeah.
Laura, Desiree, Pat, Mary, Doris, thoughts?
Well,
Is it gonna be?
it's, I've remained quiet because yes, I just like to listen and see, and especially hear um, what you, as a new TBW member, what you hope to gain, what you want to see. But again, not losing the legacy, right? And so to speak to kind of wrap it all up in a summary, what Doris said, what Pat said, what Kendra, Mary, we do have those legacy programs that we've had from individual development program. And if I sponsor Karen Gray and it's my fault that she's a member and in the capacity of state president now, I love it that it's my fault, by the way. But I also take it very personal, like, how did I not tell her that we had IDP? So individual development program, the history there, and we morphed that coming out of business and professional women whenever we merged or became our own Texas businesswomen. So there's a lot more history and a lot more time to learn out of that. But IDP, Individual Development Program, became Communicating with Confidence. So we've had.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I
So
have heard of that.
yes.
There you go.
The-
Thank you.
The
all.
reason we
You're
had to do that was, BPW on
The right.
trademark to the ID program. And so that's why we did Communicating with Confidence. Yes, that's where that came from. But we did, since Texas BPW created the ID program and National BPW stole it from Texas BPW and trademarked it and all that stuff. Whenever we recreated it as TBW, we called it Communicating with Confidence.
And Mary's daughter was a big driving force of that.
She was on that committee that
Along with
helped
that.
create that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Along
Marty
with
was?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Marty, myself, Kim, and Gwen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Four powerhouse women.
Who built those modules. So there are 6 modules. So again, and just like Pat said, everyone's done it. And so how do we do something more? And that's what I've heard from the past conferences, from the past, we don't, just like Pat said, we don't want to just be a networking. We do want to get something out of it. I'm a lifelong student myself, and I want to be fed. And I do every time I come back from a networking lunch here in San Angelo. I give props to our San Angelo local organization. We are just going gangbusters, and I love it. And that I do feel fed every time, every meeting. And that's the relationship building that also comes out of that. So my success story comes a big part of TBW. I can emulate that personal and professional growth, right? And so that's what's very important. That's what I'm passionate about. But I was quiet because I wanted to hear what a new member, what it looks like, what it feels like, because I know what it feels like to me. But we have had that, and I guess where I was going is that because we have offered that so many times, our members have had that opportunity. So what can we do next? What else can we do to feed them to where it is something new? But again, we can't be everything to everyone. So we do have to hone in and target. But I also think if you look at your personal self and your own inventory, you have to invest in yourself. So what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So what matters to you? What do you want? And we ask our members to give us that feedback, to respond to surveys. Here we are on a TBW Tuesday, and we've had that, and we have 4 people show up. So that's what's discouraging, I guess, and that we are a 200 member organization, almost 150 member organization, but we only have 50 people show up to last year's conference. So this state conference committee is going gangbusters, and I love this, and I love the spirit. I love the enthusiasm. So I hope we can fill that room with 100 people. because that's what we want. That's what our goals are. Sorry, I kind of went on rabbit trails, Madam President.
That was awesome. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. And this is the passion that we have, right? We're passionate about what we do. It's why we do what we do. And the majority of the women on this call have led this organization in some capacity, most as president, but Desiree's on the board. I'm on the board. Kim's on the committee. Julie's on the committee. So
We're preaching to the choir, right?
we are preaching to the choir, yet these are the voices here. So
let's guide
we need to
this. And
table
I think we
this?
have a good morph. Mhm.
Yeah, do we need to table this? Do we need to make a move, make a decision? What is the consensus of the people on the call? The members on the call?
Don't you, would you need to bring it to conference? To vote on it at conference?
So Pat, that's such a great question. One of the things that I'm pushing as a new board member is that we do have it in our bylaws that we can call for a virtual vote. And so, one of the things that we've talked about is like stagnation in the organization. And so I think that if we continue to push it down the field, that's exactly what we're going to do. So if we don't vote until conference, that's another 2 months. And then do we have this conversation again? How many people are going to be invested in at that point? Like, we have the people on the call. I think we take it, to a vote.
On this call or another call?
Not on this call, a vote to the membership, the whole membership. Like,
Propose it in an email.
You're talking about what to present to the membership to vote on.
Yes.
Is it customary to present 2 mission statements and say, which one do you like better? Or just say, here's our proposed vision and mission statement, vote yes or no? Is that, what does that look like?
It usually comes out of the committee with a proposed, this is it. And then, somewhere down the line, a word or two might be changed during the voting, but it comes out of committee as this is what it is, this is what we propose.
And includes a rationale. But I really think I think if you present it, I think people would be hard pressed to vote against it. They just want to know, that's great, but how are you going to do it? What can we expect? What's tangible? Because that's love, truth, and beauty. I mean,
Well, I think
beautiful, but it's love, truth, and beauty.
Yeah, mission and vision statements are kind of high level, and then you can get down into the weeds on how do you deliver, because communicating with confidence is not going to be part of that, right? That's not what's part of our mission and vision. It's just
That's part of the how. That's
it's part of the tools,
guiding principles.
Right.
Yeah.
So within that, but just you want to provide that framework for us to come in 5-10 years from now and still create things, activities, whatever programs that still fall within the guidelines of the overall mission. Right?
That is the goal. Yes.
Yeah, but when we come to conference, we want to know, so where are we charging? So if there's a proposal to have an updated mission and vision, I bet I would be a betting woman to say 95% of people say, oh, that's great. That looks nice. Wow.
Yeah, I love it.
No comment. They want to know the action plan. We want to know what's the plan of action for the next year, which means what are we going to do?
So people don't really care about this. The membership doesn't and I'll care about this as much as they care about what's in it for me. Like, what do I
wouldn't say, I wouldn't say they don't care.
They do,
but
they do care about what it says.
Yeah,
They
but
do
it
care
doesn't say
because-
anything new, really. It's all the same umbrella. We're here to empower women. That's when you boil it all down, we want you to be better personally and professionally.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we're saying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mary, you were.
I like that.
That's Julie, you mentioned legislative earlier. That was, another one of the things. And I know that this is almost an entirely new membership, we have a lot of new members from what we had back then, but that vision and mission are from Kendra's presidency. So, look back at the list and see when that was. That was 2000, was that 12, 13?
I was gonna say 14,
14,
16, but maybe
15?
it's either,
Okay.
she was 2 years, then
Yeah.
someone else, and then me. Someone was
Um,
between us. I don't remember who. I think it was 12 to 14.
So, yeah. Okay.
A
So,
while.
because I came in right behind you, right?
You after
was-
me?
Yeah.
I thought it was Laura. Maybe you were after me. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Anyway, that's a few years back, and that was what they wanted to know was how are we going to do this now? But you mentioned legislative, so the word advocacy that is in the mission statement, that word, as I remember it, that we had legislative advocacy, didn't we? And we were forced to take that word out by the
Yes.
members. The membership did not want that word in there because we are a nonpartisan organization. And so, for whatever reason, they didn't want anything that even spoke of politics in there at all. But we were able to talk them into advocacy, because advocacy doesn't necessarily mean political. It's advocacy in the workplace. It's advocacy, for, so we had to explain that word advocacy and take the legislative out of it. And so there are some very deep-seated opinions and beliefs within the organization still, and the members that are still there. But I mean, I'd like the new vision and mission statement. You've done a good job on that, the work that you've done on it, but there will be those, okay, this sounds good. Now tell me how you're going to do that. And that's why we came up with what we did, though, is, the technology. That was a big thing then. It's not as big a thing now.
Trying to find the past state presidents because we had that on the conference program.
I like the word advocacy too, because that communication with confidence could be, we're teaching you how to advocate for yourself in a job situation, to advocate for your own promotion, to whatever. So I like that, and I think that falls in line really well.
Doris, who was it that we partnered with a few years back, and for the program that went around the state to tell us how to ask for a raise in our job? Who did we?
It was AAUW, the American Association of University Women. And yes, primarily it was, the approach and the background information that you need to have for asking for a raise. But, in that, I think it was much more applicable to just life in general. I mean, that was the focus that brought many people into the program to learn the techniques. But I think AAUW did a great job in broadening that perspective and saying this is the same thing that you might use on a personal basis, whether it's deciding who's going to have Christmas dinner or where you're going to go out to eat, or I mean, something very minor that you might think if you're not being heard in your own family. So yeah. And I think we're back to collaboration. I think that's the other thing that we've done well in the past, is working with those other organizations. But AAUW.
I saw their information the other day about some things. They looked like they were doing some really good things. Negotiating skill set with a real workshop to put it into practice. Is that a suggestion for something we could do, Laura?
No, just what Doris was talking about. We had a workshop hosted by AAUW that it was a one-on-one, to where a mentor mentee, you would sit down and practice going into a job interview, negotiating for your raise, or just like you said, how to host a Thanksgiving dinner.
Advocating for yourself. in
Yeah.
whatever position your life took you at that moment. It was just advocating for ourselves.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So we're back on the circle again. So do we take action? Do we have another meeting? Where are we at? I feel like we're circling back.
Yes, my question is, Karen, how comfortable are you with the words that we have put together tonight? Because as Pat said, and we've mentioned several times, it's what we call at conference, the plan of action. How comfortable are you with putting something behind those statements to say, this is the focus, these are the steps, these are the suggestions for local organizations? Because if I think back, one of the things that was a unifying thought when I first joined many years ago was that each year we had sort of a theme, and there were a list of activities that sort of supported that theme, if you will. And so I think we have maybe not made that so formal as we did in the past, because again, personalizing it based on your local organization, who's in your membership, what are their needs, what's the size of your city, etc. But back to my question, Ms. Karen, Madam President, is how comfortable are you with those words to be able to put that into a plan of action? And not that you have to create everything on your own. I'm just asking how you feel with that.
I think knowing that there are assets out there that we can utilize to reinforce the objectives, I feel more comfortable than I did coming into it. I just want to be able to build a bridge forward, not just to the past. We have a great past. We have an amazing legacy. I don't want us to get stuck there. Not that that's a bad place to be, but I want us to continue leading forward, and that will require us doing something different. And so we've done some things really, really well. Ladies, I know we're getting close to the 9 o'clock hour. I want to honor time frame. I think a lot has been shared tonight that I really need to give it more thought, more so than just making a decision. I think there's some great things. I would love to bring this back to the committee, and then maybe coming back to this again. Maybe we do this again in May. I don't know. Or we have another just separate meeting that's just education and vision. But I don't want to go into this just to change for change's sake. I really want it to be intentional. So the conversation has been really, really relevant and important. And I don't think that anything we have is wrong, but I agree. Des just said form a specific committee. I think that needs to be our next steps, because this is much bigger than just stating what we're doing differently and what we want to do differently. It's really about setting the next, and Dora said it really well, the plan of action for my next 2 years. And how can we back that up, and who do we get to support that so that we can back it up and do it in a really supportive way that helps us stand apart. Because I feel like that has been our legacy, but I really want it to be who we are going forward too. So thank you all for being on here tonight and for giving me so much food for thought and things to consider. I would love if you have a desire to be on the committee. Each of you have so much to add. I would love for that to be something that you, if you're open to it, be a part of it, so that we can bring in all the sides. Everybody added so much value. And Arissa, I know this is not our typical TBW Tuesday. This may have been very, very boring to listen into, or it may have been inspirational. I don't know, but thank you for being on here. she is a guest, so she kind of got inundated with all of the TBW stuff. So you kind of got to be a fly on the wall and hear all the different sides of us today and how passionate we are, how much we love each other, how much we love women and what we do. And so I sent her a link. She's already booked a call on my calendar, so we're gonna meet. And then I hope that Pat and Kim get to reconnect with you in Houston. Would love to see that chapter get going again and get some activity down in Houston. So thank you all very, very much. We will wrap this up tonight and just know that this organization will be here for a very, very, very long time because of the conversations we had tonight and the women that are behind them. So thank you all for being that for us. And I hope you got the, I'll share again the conference information if you missed it. I'm going to share the downloads. If you don't need the downloads, Julie, feel free to jump off. Thank you for being here tonight. You added tremendous value. It's so good to have fresh eyes on all of this and fresh heart. So thank you for that.
Nice to meet you, Julie. Here, may I just say, don't feel pressured to have it figured out before conference. That's what conference is for. So don't feel like you have to have it all done before then. I mean, it's okay to come to conference and say, this is what I feel is the best direction forward. Let's have a discussion. So,
oops.
Yeah.
I said,
And remember, it's an
Julie.
organization with many supported women who
Right.
are there to
Yes.
help and provide that. I mean, you're the focus. I mean, as far as the leader, but
you.
there are many people who are there behind you.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm not in this by myself. I can't, now that it's just members. Hang on.
Yeah.